It's Revolt here. I want to talk about the new patch for AOM Retold. As you can see, it's a Gaia patch, so Gaia's still OP. Nah, just kidding. Let's get into it and talk about it. So I'm not going to go over all the fixes and stuff. You do get Arena of Gods with it, which is pretty cool. I haven't tried it yet, but it's a new skirmish thing where you get 35 skirmish missions and all that. And then a lot of stability performance improvements. You guys can read that on your own. I want to get into the actual balance changes, localization, graphics, yada yada, audio, UI. There are actually a lot of nice fixes in here. Hotkeys. Villagers now have an attack move button. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Controller Xbox fixes. General fixes. It's actually a pretty big patch. Campaign. Balance. There we go. So let's talk about balance. So caravans, trading rate increase from 0.6 to 0.7. That's nice. Building repair rate got reduced. Okay. I like that actually. Ballistics. So ballistics I thought was too good in Retold. It just had a track rating of basically 99%, and it was really hard for like cavalry and stuff to dodge. And now it's supposed to be, I'm not sure what exactly this means to +3, but it's supposed to be a lot better in that you're supposed to be able to dodge and surround groups of archers a lot easier. So like it says, cavalry helps cavalry countermass archer masses. So that's good. Alright, we actually have some specific deathmatch changes. And this is really cool. This is what I wanted to see. I hope there's more of these in the future, because there are still some deathmatch balance issues and whatnot. Advancing to the next stage costs resources again. That's kind of whatever. So you start with 20k resources, so it's okay. Greek Favor Wraith got nerfed again, which is probably needed. But the build speed now builds faster. So that sounds okay. Prayer's gift technology now research automatically. I mean that should have, that's basically a bug. Also I heard that the map is no longer revealed in deathmatch, which I think might be a problem. I don't think that was intended because it's not listed here in the notes. And I think that's a problem for like Eggy and Greek specifically, because Norse is just able to take the map so much quicker than all the other gods, especially in deathmatch. So I think that's something they need to probably, I haven't tried it yet, but I do think that's something they'll need to fix, like a hot fix or something. All right, let's talk about standard changes. So Greek, the bolt favor cost got reduced to 55. That sounds good. So now basically the bolt is worth using on regular myth units and stuff like that. Especially like the second time you cast it. Fixed an issue where Hades heroes did not correctly benefit from +1 range and line of sight. That's good. Lure got power, total number of chickens in Wonder Age. I mean, you don't really use it much in Wonder Age. You don't really use it in Wonder Age, so I guess you could use it a second time, but it's kind of whatever. Ares Will of Chronos, Cyclops Thoraction damage. Alright, this was basically, to me, this was a bug where like the Cyclops would like throw a unit into your units and do a ton of damage to your ball of units. So finally they fixed that. Alright, the Myrmidon. Hit points. I'm not sure why they increased the hit points of the Myrmidon here. I don't really understand it. maybe it's more of a standard thing, but in deathmatch, Myrmidons, especially with Hera, Zeus, you get Myrmidon Trickle, which is already super good. So I don't. This must be more of like a standard thing, but even in standard, I don't really understand it. But okay. Alright, Cyclops Ares. Area damage to Thor ability is now constant rather than dropping off further away from the edge. Throw area damage reduced. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about. The throw of the Cyclops. Alright. Hoplites. Movement speed increased. Interesting. Yeah, I did actually feel like hoplites are a little bit kind of meh, so I actually like that change. Raw farming gather rate increase not only affects the caster, no longer other players, so this is more of a team game thing. That was probably way too strong for it to affect your allies as well. Or even your enemies. So now it only affects the caster, which is good. Alright, finally, Electron Bullet's getting nerfed. So I kind of called this change where I thought that they should have the Electron Bullet. So now it's plus 0.5. But then it also does 10% more damage. So definitely, you know, still a nerf. I have played a few raw games, and slingers still feel pretty good. So just not like super overpowered like they were. So I like it. I like this change. But now Sekhmet is way stronger. So trains and researches everything 25% faster. This includes aging up and producing villagers. And the second time you cast it, it only costs 100 favor, which is huge. So you can get 2 citadels up pretty quickly, like a 2 TC build, and then start pumping villagers. So I think this is going to be really cool for raw players, even set players. So I like it. It's really interesting change. All right, Eclipse. It was a little bit too strong with like the moving sphinxes and stuff. So the speed bonus got reduced, and then the armor got reduced. Favor cost reduced as well. So yeah, good changes here overall. Locust Swarm increase. Yeah, so like that was a little bit too. Locust is actually a good god power now, so it was a little bit too cheap to recast it. So they upped that. So that makes sense. Sun Restarters can't be targeted by Shockwave. That makes sense. Ancestors. Movement speed increased. Okay. So the ancestors, or the minions, they did get a little bit nerfed in the last patch, so I guess they're kind of making up for that. And now we have a bunch of Eggy/Isis buffs, basically. So hit point of the Chariot Archer +5, and then pierce damage increased. But now all the Chariot, Camel, War Elephant, it's all cheaper by like 100 wood, 100 food. Oh, actually 150 gold as well. So yeah, all the upgrades are just cheaper. So watch out for Isis on the ladder. I'm going to be playing more Isis for sure. And I feel like McDole units in general needed a little bit of a buff because they get countered by like the Dromo spam and stuff like that way too easily. The armory. Yeah, so the Thor was just way too strong with the Dwarven Armory. They were getting basically +3 or 4 villagers in Archaic Age, which is huge. That's like basically your economy is around 20% better, just 20% better than all the other gods. So to get extra villagers that early was just too good. So now they increased the wood cost, and then the research speed is minus 50% as well. It gains plus 50% research speed every age advancement. All right. So that's good. They nerfed the armory earlier on so that it doesn't compound and scale too good in the later stages. Dwarven Mine Thor was also too good, so now the favor costs got reduced, but the repeat costs got increased from 25 to 50, so they doubled the repeat cost, which makes sense. So now it's going to cost a lot more for like your 4th or 5th use of it. Regeneration rate for Odin got lowered, got halved actually. And then the line of sight, these are just really small changes. Who cares about that? Yeah, so slight nerf to Odin as well as Thor. Eyes of the Forest no longer affects buildings, so that's not a big deal. I actually thought it was pretty cool that you could like place houses and stuff around the map, but I don't know, maybe they just didn't like that type of gameplay. So Loki kind of unchanged. So again, small, well, pretty significant nerf to Thor, and then kind of a smallish nerf to Odin. Now Freyr, Golden Burst is special enough to throw units upwards rather than away. So, because he was struggling with taking out certain myth units, okay? Njord, Mountain Giant hit points reduced. Plus 25% to plus 20%. Cost increase, 150 food, 25 favor to 175 food, 30 favor. So yeah, Mountain Giants with Njord got nerfed overall. I still think they're going to be pretty good, but in general, I feel like Njord is definitely not as good as when the game came out. I personally prefer like Flaming Weapons, Sproggy a lot more lately. But I still think like Njord with Ringgiver and stuff like that is still quite good, but you just don't have nearly enough as much of those Walking Forest all-ins anymore. Balder Rag, favor cost reduced from 500 to 350. I think it was a pretty good change. I think like Rag in Retold for some reason is not as good as in the original game. And now that they're basically saying, okay, because of that, you could do it more often, is a good change. Or you could do it a second time. It's a good change, I think. I mean, it's still risky to do it in general. So you have to really pick a good spot to do it in, and also have like rams or some kind of siege as well with it, or maybe sync it up with flaming weapons or something. So it's kind of a technical god power to use, I think. Alright, Tempest cooldown increased. I think that's a pretty good change, I think. And then Fimbulwinter. So yeah, Fimbulwinter I feel like was just way too strong. So now it lasts 2 seconds less, and Pierce Armor basically got halved of the wolves. So now they die to Tower Fires a lot quicker, and movement speed also got reduced. So yeah, this is a good change, I think, to Fimbulwinter. Alright, the Draugr. So the Draugur's been pretty underwhelming. So now it got a line of sight increase, and then special attack rate fire reduced. So this reduces the overall time required to perform the attack, right? So basically a buff to the Draugr, which is good, because that Mythine has been pretty underwhelming. Alright, the Rock Giant got nerfed again. It's been nerfed so many times, it seems like. So the hit points got reduced 50, and then Hack Arm got reduced 5. I think it makes sense. I still think Rock Jan's overperformed a little bit, so I think that makes sense. Fafnir got damage increased to 12 hack, 6 crush. This unit attacks 6 times in one attack cycle, yeah. So I like that change actually. I think the Fafnir, because you get 300 gold when you kill it, it needs to pack a punch basically. So I think this is a good change. Right, finally Burning Pitch for throwing Axemen, which has basically been broken. So now instead of 3x to buildings, it does 1x. So I still think it's going to be good, just not as broken as it has been. It's not, they're not going to melt buildings anymore. So good change. And then also Sky Passages, which was they were just way too cheap, only being 5 favor before. So now the hit points got reduced to 100, but now they cost 50 wood and 8 favor. I still think Sky Passages are obviously going to be used, just not as crazily as they were before. So I still think, Uranus is still, like an A tier god. And this isn't going to change that much. Alright, minor gods. Tartarian Gate basically got a buff like across the board, which it needed. It's pretty underwhelming, so hopefully now we'll see more Tartarian Gates being used. Just Hecate in general. The Carnivora cooldown increased. I mean, people weren't using it on cooldown as soon as they got it back anyway, so that's not a huge change really. Because you're kind of using it in certain scenarios, like when you're attacking and things like that. So Implode divine damage got reduced. So yeah, Implode doesn't just kill units outright. Now it seems like more units are going to be surviving the Implode. So yeah, I think it's a good change because I'm not seeing a lot or any Gaia nerfs in this patch, so at least this will nerf Implode a little bit for her. And yeah. Alright, finally Mana War. They overbuffed Mana War way too much in the last patch, so now attack range decreased, Chain Lightning from 4 to 3. So that makes sense to me. Behemoths got a buff, so attack range increase and then cost reduced as well. I do like seeing that, so hopefully people will start picking Rhea a lot more. The Argus, which has been probably the most underwhelming myth unit in the game. Hack damage from 30 to 40, and then special attack from 6 to 4 seconds. This means that the damage burst happens 2 seconds sooner. That's good to see, but I still think the special attack is pretty pathetic. I think it just needs a rework, to be honest. Yeah. Alright, Caraballista. Alright, so Caraballista are a pretty situational unit. You don't want to spam these things. But I think now they're going to be used more, so people are just going to be having a few of them in their army. I think would be really good now that they do even more damage to infantry. So like 4 or 5 of them in your army should be fine. You don't really want to be making a lot of them, or they get surrounded by cavalry and they're really expensive. So Atlantean cavalry line upgrades are 25% cheaper instead of 50. That makes sense. So that is sort of an indirect nerf to Gaia from the Cantarius spam. So it's good to see. So 2 sort of implode, and then this sort of 2 small indirect nerfs to Gaia. And then that's about it in terms of the balance changes. I still think Gaia is really strong. Probably a little bit too strong. So, yeah. I'm definitely... I've been playing a lot of Gaia, and I think she's just super good. She's S tier. And probably a little bit too strong in the S tier category. So I would like to see some Gaia nerfs in the next patch. And Raw, I think, should be in a pretty damn good spot now, in general. Especially with the segment changes. Norse, so Thor got the armory nerf, and then Odin got the regeneration nerf. So, like, I still think they're gonna be... Norse is still in a good spot in general. They're just not, like, crazy good anymore. Especially with Thor. Like, there was just way too many Thor players on the ladder. So, I think overall, like, all the balance changes, it's a really good patch. Like, I think they're really going in the right direction. They're actually understanding what the issues are and making good changes, I think. Random maps. So finally Ghostlight got added to the standard and quick match ladder. So that's awesome. I would actually like to see more maps get added to the ladder. Another thing I would like to see is a veto system like AoE 4 has, where you can veto those stupid water maps if you don't want to play some of those water maps. That would be really cool. And yeah, some editor changes, and yeah. Other than that, like, just a really solid patch overall. And yeah, I hope they keep coming. I think they're doing a good job. Also, deathmatch specific changes is what we need as well to get deathmatch going. And yeah, so overall, I'd say this is a W patch. And yeah, that's probably it for me. So I'll see you guys in the next one. If you have any comments or other things you'd like to see in future patches, leave them in the comments. And yeah, till next time, peace.